barely been a week since I've been recording this video about the Fox Disney merger. And there's already a lot of controversy, people saying, like, oh, well, they're just doing this for political gain, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I've seen some videos doing this, and, I don't really take everything into consideration as a conspiracy per se. But I mean, the main obvious reason why they did this was to get the rights to some Marvel characters, mainly Deadpool and X-Men and maybe the Fantastic Four a little bit. But now they also have the rights to The Simpsons and a couple other characters, and I think including Family Guy. But already, not even a couple weeks after this deal was done, uh, so basically there's been like two Simpsons controversies already, and I think it has largely to do because of the Disney merger. Um, One, Apu, a famous character on The Simpsons, which was a clerk from India on The Simpsons, in case you don't know for some reason. His character was cut from the show completely. And then you have another a famous episode where Michael Jackson voiced the character, and then now that entire episode is pulled out of respect for the victims. Now, I solely believe that we should separate the art from the man. Like, even if, and I say even if, Michael Jackson's truly guilty of these horrendous crimes that he was accused of, that really shouldn't affect the show. That's just my opinion. I am not the biggest Simpsons fan you'll ever find. However, I did grow up with the show, so I am familiar with the show. And the fact that they pulled the episode, because of the Michael Jackson controversy, even though back in the 90s, some people already came forward saying, well, this wasn't true, I made this up. You can look this up, this is a fact. However, I think, from what I remember, there was quite a few people that came forward. It was really only like one or two people that said that they made up just to get fame or whatever. So, even then, and even if Michael Jackson was truly guilty of these crimes, we should separate the art from the man. Because in the future, what happens when every single person gets accused of something? And this is what I truly believe. I believe every single human being on the planet is guilty of something they did. Whether it's a horrendous crime, or whether it's something minor, or whether it's something that people are not going to agree with. Maybe they have a different religious preference, maybe they're atheists, maybe they're Christian, maybe they started in a porno, or maybe, just anything you could think of that to you wouldn't be that big of a deal, but to other people it would. Now, child molestation, that is a horrendous crime that Michael Jackson has been accused of. But again, shouldn't we separate the art from the man? And this is why I think this is important for the Disney merger, because I've noticed in the month of March, when this deal was being done, there was already several controversies already being implemented. Like I said, there was already the Apu thing, and then there was Leaving Neverland. And now I just have this feeling that Disney is going to go after a lot of other controversies in the Fox network. Now, Disney has this weird image, like they have to be kid friendly, right? But even then, some of their Marvel movies have some dark moments. But there's some rules that Disney movies that they have to follow. One of those rules, and these are actually true rules, I don't remember all of them. I knew one in particular, is that Disney movies are not allowed to show beheadings. And if you think about it, if you watch every single Disney movie, every single Disney cartoon, anything affiliated with Disney, not one shows a character being decapitated by the head. And that's interesting because they do have a lot more rules. I think there's at least a dozen more rules that are similar to that. They just don't want that image because they're Disney. They need to portray themselves as kid friendly, so they have a set of rules. Another weird rule that I've heard about Disney is they had this weird pointing rule. And I'm not sure if this is actually true, but Walt Disney himself, he had this personal weird issue of people pointing fingers, right? Because he considered it rude. So he said whenever you point fingers, you have to use both index fingers, your middle finger and your first finger, to point like that. Now, I've seen this in a couple of cartoons. I've seen Walt Disney do this himself, and I thought this was kind of a weird fact. But in a way, I guess Walt Disney has a point, because if you see someone and you point at them, I guess in some situations it could be considered rude. But if you're just pointing at like that, maybe it's not as rude. I don't know. The man obviously had some weird flaws and some weird ideas. To me, he was the Steve Jobs of that era. He was a very flawed man. I'm not saying he was like a horrendous person or anything. I'm just saying that he obviously has some issues, just like every other human being. But I wonder if Walt Disney was alive today and he saw how big Disney got. Like, he knew Disney was big during his lifetime when they opened a big theme park, but did he ever truly foresee Disney becoming this big? And that is something that would be interesting if Walt Disney was alive today, because I feel like his life was really cut short. From what I remember, Walt Disney died in his office, something like that. He went in his office and he had like some sort of fatal heart attack, and he was never seen or heard from again. The last thing anyone ever said to him, he was talking for some weird reason about Kurt Russell in a movie, and that was the last conversation that he ever had with a person. Went in his office, and that was the last anyone ever saw him alive. There's a lot more details to that. I don't know every single detail about Walt Disney as a person, but Disney has definitely touched a lot of people in good ways. It has left a lot of good childhood memories. It has a lot of musicals. It's had these two epic theme parks in the USA. If you don't know, there are more theme parks all around the world, in Japan, China, France, of Disney. So they obviously expanded their brand, and they are probably the biggest theme park on the planet, right next to Six Flags. But unless you're from the US, you probably have no idea what Six Flags even is. So there's that. There's been a lot of theme parks that have gone under in the years, but Disney is one of those few occasions where it has strived forward. Not only has Disney thrived in its theme park, but it's thrived in its movie industry. It has bought the rights to Marvel, bought the rights to Star Wars, now bought the rights to Simpsons. Now let's think about this. Disney owns Marvel characters. They own Disney. Oh no, sorry. They own Star Wars characters. No shit, they own Disney. So Marvel, Star Wars, now they own The Simpsons. Now they own every single Marvel character, including X-Men and Deadpool. Now they, for some reason, own Family Guy, which that probably doesn't really have a future. And a couple other episodes, especially, I remember, what's it called? There was Fox TV shows on Saturday morning cartoons. Remember those? With Warner Brothers and Fox Kids TV shows, like, airing on Saturday morning cartoons back in the 90s. Man, those were the years. And now they own the rights to most of them, unless they worked with Warner Brothers. But what's going to be next? What is truly going to be next? I foresee in the future that just maybe, and this may be a crazy idea, that just maybe Disney may own Warner Brothers just to get those DC characters. This may not happen anytime soon. It's probably going to happen in like 10, maybe 20 years from now, somewhere around that time. But yeah, I foresee in the future that Disney is going to own every single studios just to get more characters. Imagine if Disney owned Batman. Imagine if Disney owned Superman. Like, we would actually get some really great, decent DC movies. Now, I'm not saying DC doesn't have decent movies. I liked Aquaman and Wonder Woman. I just didn't like Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman or Justice League. I felt like those movies were just shit, man. Like, as a DC fan, I was so disappointed in those movies, but I am glad with the direction Marvel has taken, because at least their movies are doing well. Like, the thing with Marvel movies is that they don't have to be, they're not like the best movies ever, but they're okay. They make every single Marvel movie like safe. Unless you're watching Avengers Infinity War, which is, to me, one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. Like, it's such a great movie, right next to Watchmen. Yeah, like, all the Marvel movies, they're okay. They're not bad, they're not good, they're just in the middle, and I think that's what Disney is going for, just to make people happy, you know? But that's just my opinion. So, what do we take from this? Disney is now going to own everything, and now I think in the future they may own Warner Brothers, and maybe, just crazy, maybe they might own Universal Studios just to get more characters. There's a lot of characters in Universal Studios they could own, but the possibilities are endless. If they're able to buy Fox, they'll probably buy Sony one day, or Universal, or Warner Brothers. We can only just speculate, but there is a secret war going on, and that secret world war is with movie studios. And so far, it seems like Disney is winning. And you know what? I gotta be honest. I have no idea what Warner Brothers is doing, right? Because I personally feel that besides Disney, Warner Brothers is like the second hitter when it comes to the movie industry. They have a big they have a lot of movie characters and a big studio, and they may. What I'm trying to say is, between Universal and Sony, I truly think that Warner Brothers is definitely a lot bigger than those studios. But obviously, Disney is way ahead of its time as far as that's goes. But I just think that, like, with all these characters, and if you look at, you can look up these facts. If all these characters that Warner Brothers owns, they own the rights to a lot of characters, and I even heard they own the rights to the old Rage, a Primal Rage. You ever heard of that game? It's with the dinosaur fighting game. They own the rights to a lot of those type of characters and a lot more that they haven't made movies on, and it just feels that Warner Brothers is so far behind. They own the rights to DC to make DC character movies, but it feels like they don't really do anything with them. They've had these characters for over 70 years, I think, or at least 50 years, around that time, but they barely did anything with them. Yes, they made a lot of Bat movies, Superman movies, and but they had so much time to make a expanded universe of sorts, and that would have made a lot of money. It just really feels that Warner Brothers just had a big opportunity, but they didn't do anything with it. It's very strange to say, but Disney went the smart route and tried to invest in more companies. So I'm not saying Warner Brothers is like the biggest company ever. I'm just saying, next to Fox and Sony, I truly think that Warner Brothers is definitely one of the big hitters. But since Disney is so far ahead, Warner Brothers is just shrinking. And, you know, like I said, I have no idea what they've been doing all these years, but they had a great opportunity with DC characters to make more money, to make more revenue, and then buy other studios like Disney is doing. But they failed at it, man. Like, they had an opportunity, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, guys, this is my opinion. I gotta go. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Disney and Fox, it's a thing. They own the rights to so many characters, and so far Disney is winning, and they're gonna buy out more studios in the future. I just see it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I gotta go. Peace out.